Everyone, thank you for coming to watch. So we've got guys an update on Hurricane Beryl. Alright, so Hurricane Beryl, it's actually, I should not be saying Hurricane Beryl. It's actually, at the time of recording this video, a tropical storm, but by the time you're probably watching this video, it will most likely be a hurricane once again. But as of right now, it is located just a few miles to the south of the Texan coastline here, and you can see it's really getting that pretty well-defined center of circulation. I think it's going to start popping off some really intense convection. You can already see just explosive convection going on in the last few frames. I think we're going to see some pretty good intensification with the storm. This will definitely be Category 1 hurricane. Who knows, maybe it could get even stronger, but I think we really know at this point that's going to be a Category 1 hurricane by the time we wake up tomorrow morning. But as of right now, it's got a very good spin to it. It's got these outer bands here, these tentacle like outer bands. These are going to be lashing the coastline here, bringing some really high waves, just a lot of rainfall, and just some big-time impacts to Texas. Some evacuations even have been ordered just because of how dangerous the environment's going to be when the storm actually hits. But you're still getting, I mean, at this point, you're getting the rain. You're starting to get some of the rain if you're on the immediate coastline here. You're starting to get the far outer bands, but this is the center of circulation. I don't think we're going to get an eye. I don't think we're going to see an eye uh, with the storm on satellite tomorrow morning. I think we would need to see more of a stronger hurricane to get that, but it's certainly possible. I just think it's not going to get that strong. But as of right now, we're getting more of the best case scenario, I would say, for what's happening right now. Obviously, it's not in a good spot in terms of where it's hitting, but I do think that it's running out of time to strengthen. It's still got some time to move over waters, but I think it's really ran out of time to strengthen. It's been pretty slow with strengthening. It was supposed to be pretty much right at a Category 1. It is a very high-end tropical storm, but we are pretty much already expecting a Category 1 hurricane by pretty much right around this time as of what we were thinking yesterday. But now it's still just not a hurricane yet. So like I said, it's running out of time to develop, but it's certainly right at the hurricane tropical storm kind of borderline mark. But it becoming a hurricane, a Category 1 hurricane, just before it makes technical landfall on the Texan coastline. But yeah, that's what you're looking at on satellite, and we'll go over to Radar Omega here. Just want to give you guys a 3D view, just so you can see these outer bands really well. You see these high cloud tops, these little spiky looking things. These are really tall forms, right? These are actually supercells that could be embedded, or I guess storm cells that are embedded with these outer bands. These are the kind of storms that are going to be possibly producing tornadoes up towards areas near Liberty, Texas, Sugar Land, Texas, Lumberton, maybe even all the way up towards Huntsville, Livingston, College Station, Brenham, the Woodlands, maybe even all the way over to like Lake Charles, Louisiana. I mean, you can see these outer bands are really just wrapping way out, way, like they're wrapping around the storm, but they're really moving out away from the storm, if that makes sense. They're still attached to the storm, they're just really spreading, reaching out to places that aren't necessarily too close to the center of the storm. But you can see just some pretty good convection going on right by where the center of the storm is. As of right now, it is a tropical storm with max wind speeds at around 70 miles per hour, with max gusts at around 75 miles per hour. So you may notice that the max gusts are over hurricane force. Yes, right now, if you were in the center of the storm, you'd be seeing hurricane force wind gusts. Now you need sustained winds, these wind speeds. Okay, so once this number gets over 70 miles per hour, it'll be a technical Category 1 hurricane. We're expecting that by around 2 a.m. this morning. We're expecting an 85 mile per hour Category 1 hurricane, which is on the stronger side, but you do have a max gust at 105 miles per hour. I do think is why we have evacuations in place. We have a lot of storm chasers out here. We have Aaron J. Jack out there. We have Brad Arnold. We have a lot of chasers. We have a lot of in the ground on the ground coverage there. But you can see even in Galveston, we have Nathan Moore out there. Yeah, he's facing the beach already, getting some pretty high waves. Look at these gusty winds. I'm making the tree shake over there. That's interesting to see. But yeah, this is coming in fast, guys. You're already getting the outer bands on the immediate coast of Texas. We have the Dickinson, Texas camp. But anyways, just to show you guys, this is the future track of it. It's going to be going through Houston, most likely as a low 1 Category 1 hurricane, but then it's going to get back down to a tropical storm by the time it gets to near Navasota, Texas, and then it's going to be moving up through the rest of eastern Texas, and it's really going to die down here, but it's still going to be a tropical storm, tropical depression by the time it gets to the east of the DFW Metroplex near Tyler, Texas. That's going to move right through Texarkana as a tropical depression. Gets all the way through Little Rock, so a really populated area along this line here from in the cone of Beryl. All right, it's not going to be nearly as strong as what it's looking like as of right now down here, but it still will bring some pretty significant impacts to, I would say, really this general area. Everyone over here needs to be alert for some gusty winds, some potentially flooding rainfall from the remnants of Beryl. But this is going to continue to move through Arkansas, going through Little Rock. It's going to go up through the Boot Hill, Missouri, and then maybe as far north as southern Illinois. All right, you are currently in the cone. We enter the cone of uncertainty as we get more up to like the Great Lakes region. But yes, we could still see a tropical depression as far north as Toronto, Canada. All right, so I mean, this is a really long trek from Beryl, so it's really going to see how strong Beryl's going to get, and if Beryl's weaker when it makes it fall, then we're probably not going to see Beryl as long as how long we can see it kind of move through this region if Beryl will get a little bit stronger than we're expecting it to. So a lot of question marks still left, but I mean, it's set in stone right now. This is the forecast. This is the final forecast, and it's on its way to Texas, and it's right here. The outer bands are beginning to lash Texas line, but just sad because we're talking about a lot of people that are really going for some impacts. But we go over here to your peak storm surge forecast. All right, this is going to be just for the areas that are on the immediate coast. All right, this has increased dramatically in the past few hours. We currently have storm surge warnings out for some of these areas, but we'll start it here down by the mouth of the Rio Grande. You could get up to 2 feet of storm surge. I'm not expecting anything too crazy down here because the center of the storm is going to be going up all the way up towards the Galveston Bay area. This is where the center of the storm is going to be moving through. So, I mean, you're talking about like one outer band of the storm potentially giving you some, decently big waves. But I mean, the center of the storm is going to be moving through there. I mean, it's going to be tough to get any big waves all the way down here near the mouth of the Rio Grande. I mean, this area, I know you guys were hit by Alberto not too long ago. I mean, you're not going to even see storm surge that's going to be as big as what you guys got with Alberto, and Alberto wasn't even that strong itself. But you go up towards Port Aransas. All right, you can see, also by the Corpus Christi Bay, that's where we're expecting a little bit higher, maybe slightly higher expectations there, with up to 4 feet of storm surge for Port Aransas, Mesquite Bay, 3 to 5 feet of storm surge. Now, you get to Matagorda Bay. Okay, this is where we're expecting the worst of the storm surge. We're expecting up to 7 feet of storm surge from Port O'Connor through Matagorda Bay, and then all the way over to Galveston Bay. You could expect up to 7 feet of storm surge also for San Luis Pass. But I mean, these areas, guys, if you're staying, I'm not sure what the exact area is that's being ordered to evacuate. I know, if you are watching the video and you have been put under an evacuation, you guys are probably already evacuated at this point. But we're expecting some serious, life-threatening storm surge. I mean, 7 feet of storm surge is really high, and it's for a big area. But anybody highlighted here, shaded in this orange shade, all right, you guys gotta expect up to 7 feet of storm surge. But over towards Galveston Bay, 4 to 6 feet of storm surge, all the way towards High Island and then Sabine Pass. All right, we're expecting 3 to 5 feet of storm surge down there. And then we also get into Louisiana territory, or I shouldn't say territory, but just the coast of Louisiana, and then we go all the way over to Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge. All the way over there, you could get up to 3 feet of storm surge. Notice how that's actually higher than what we see down by the mouth of the Rio Grande. I do think that that's going to be because, like I said earlier, the outer bands are going to be stretching really far out from the center of the storm. So I mean, if you're going to get an outer band that's going to go pretty close to the border of Louisiana and Texas, I mean, yeah, you're going to get some pretty large waves that's going to be kind of going right up through here. So, I mean, you could definitely argue that you're going to get a higher storm surge than up towards a Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge rather than down here by the mouth of the Rio Grande. So, it's an interesting move here, but I do like it. I do agree with it. So, yeah, that's going to be your storm surge forecast. And so we go over here to now your rainfall. All right, we're going to talk about the rainfall aspect of things. You can see, I mean, we're just talking about ridiculous amounts of rainfall. Before the storm makes landfall, this is going to be producing rainfall totals that are unimaginable. All right, this could honestly be giving some people the most amount of rain that they've ever seen in their life. Okay, you can see that before this makes landfall, this could be dumping up to 25 inches of rain in less than 48 hours, which is just absolutely ridiculous. But that's less than 20 hours. So in less than 24 hours, this is going to be this is going to be dumping up to 25 inches of rain. Not onshore, but this is going to be offshore. It's just because of how ridiculously moist this area is. I know the dew points are making it feel disgusting outside. Just a really bad environment, but a good environment as far as what the storm itself wants. But Beryl's going to be going right up through Texas, and you can see right up towards Houston, League City. I mean, we're talking about I would say 6 to 8 inches. Some areas could locally get higher amounts. You see these little stripy areas here of higher amounts. These are where the outer bands are going to be moving through. You might as well get the same amount of rain as if as somebody getting impacts from the core of the storm, just because of how heavy the rain is going to be falling from the outer bands and just the core of the storm. But this moved right up through Texas and all the way up here to areas points north. I mean, you're still getting up to 6 inches of rain according to the HRRR. So this is going to continue just absolutely dumping rainfall. But just to kind of pinpoint it home here, I mean, you're just going to get really insane rainfall amounts. I do expect that we're going to see some big time flash flood warnings, may even get flash flood emergency. I'm not saying that's going to be handed out. I'm not saying it's going to certainly happen, but I think with this amount of rain, I mean, you gotta at least agree with me on the fact that with this amount of rain, I mean, it's almost certainly possible that you have a pretty decent chance at a flash flood emergency if this is actually what's going to happen here. This may be a little bit overdone, but I mean, you're talking about really insane rainfall totals. So if you're closer to the coastline here, the more rain you're going to get, because this is going to die out as soon as the core moves onshore. So as soon as this makes landfall, it's going to, slowly but surely begin to produce less and less rainfall. So the closer you are to the coastline, the more rain you're going to get. It's kind of a situation where if you get the storm when it's stronger, you're going to get the more rain. If you get the storm when it's weaker, you're going to get less rain. That's what's going to be happening here. But, just really insane rainfall totals. Anybody in the circled area has a shot at seeing up to 8 inches, maybe even 10 inches at max, which is just absolutely crazy. But it's what's going to happen with these impacts from Hurricane Beryl. All right, so going over to windy here, we're just going to take a look at the wind gust forecast. All right, this is going to scare a few people. I do think that this could definitely give a little shock to some people because before this makes landfall, I mean, you can see we're talking about I'm talking about really just strong winds. I mean, these winds are going to be causing significant damage. You can see already a almost like an eye wall developing here. It wants the center of this is the HRRR. So the HRRR wants a center of the storm to be pretty well defined here, with gusts only getting up to about 9 miles per hour, which is, I mean, that's a healthy hurricane there with a pretty well defined eye wall. I mean, by the looks of this the HRRR is showing a full blown hurricane with a full blown eye and eye wall here. Because if you look right outside the eye, you're talking about wind gusts up to 96. I think we flashed 98 miles an hour right there. So I mean, just incredibly strong winds. The dominant side of the storm, though, I do think could, if this turns out to be true, could actually end up being the northeastern side of the storm. Now, the thing is though, is that it's rotating. It's got like, it's not rotation like tornado rotation, but it's like you get how you get spin. Okay, it's spinning like this. So if this band or this side of the storm is producing wind gusts up to 90, like right around 100 miles per hour, and the storm is rotating like this, you'd expect that this band is going to follow up and it's going to be moving like this. That means that areas like Seadrift, Port Lavaca, all right, Palacios, all of you guys in Texas, it seems like you guys may be under the gun for the highest winds. Okay, that's certainly a possibility. I do think that the HRRR is a very good model to look at for this, but it doesn't really like the idea of this band getting all the way to the north side of the storm. It continues to really keep the eastern side of the storm the dominant side. So, I mean, you're still going to get very strong wind gusts over here near Palacios, Port Lavaca, if this actually happens. Correct me if I'm not pronouncing these names right. Still, up to 90 miles per hour with these wind gusts, potentially even higher in some isolated spots. But look over here near Lake Jackson, point south. Look at these winds. Oh my word, all right? 107 mile per hour winds. I mean, you could honestly get gusts that could be close to 110 miles per hour in Freeport, Lake Jackson, Sweeney, Bay City, West Columbia. This is by 5 a.m. Monday morning. So, I mean, once again, I apologize for not knowing where the evacuations are. I'm not sure where they're ordered, but if you are not if you're staying, okay, if you're not leaving, if you haven't left here in Freeport, like Jackson, Sweeney, all right, I mean, hunker down, get in your basement, just get into a room that doesn't have windows. If you can, just get into an area that's away from the outside as much as possible. All right, because these winds are going to bring trees down. They're going to peel shingles off your roof. I mean, this could honestly be. I mean, these winds could be equivalent to EF1 to EF2 strength. Because I mean, when you have wind gusts that are around 107 miles per hour, I mean, you're talking about significant damage. But this is by 5 a.m. Monday morning, so a really horrible way to wake up if you're staying by Monday morning. But it continues to keep the east side of the storm, the dominant side of the storm, and then this makes landfall right around Bay City, and it still brings these really, really strong winds up towards Lake Jackson. You're gusting to about 90 miles per hour by 8 a.m. Monday morning. West Columbia around 80, Angleton around 80, but anybody in here, Freeport around 90. I mean, I would say if you're getting impacted by the east side of the storm and you're pretty close to the core, and I mean, maybe even if you're worst case scenario, you're on the east side of the storm, but you're also in the cone of the storm. I mean, you got to be preparing yourself for a large swath of 100 mile an hour wind gusts. All right, so I think that we're going to see some pretty widespread power outages throughout this region. But look at the north side of the storm. I mean, this is pretty far inland, and you're still getting winds that are approaching 90 miles per hour, and this is all the way up towards Columbus, Texas. All right, so we're going to see some really strong winds continue up with this storm, and it really brings these winds wrapping tightly around the storm, so that's a sign of weakening because it's going to close in on that eye that I don't think we're going to have, but just that more defined center of circulation, but not quite an eye, but still near Columbus, gusting to 80 miles per hour by, late morning. And still Bay City, Lake Jackson, still getting hurricane force wind gusts. That's because the southern side of the storm is going to kind of bring those stronger winds in, and you're going to get just a rebound of those winds. And then look at this, all the way to Galveston, 76 mile an hour wind gusts. I mean, all around here, you're starting to see some more isolated spots of stronger wind gusts rather than just a pretty compact, large swath. That's another sign of weakening, but this is going to be continuing to pump into Texas, going to continue to move right up through Texas. And soon after that, that's actually going to be the end of Beryl. believe it or not. But man, I mean that was a heck of a hurricane, and it's not over because we still have to talk about the Texas impacts. But yeah, I mean, if you're in Houston, we'll talk about Houston. Um, because Houston is a very populated area, and they're about to get hit by a pretty strong hurricane. Because if you see the center of the hurricane on the HRRR is not going to be too far away from you. I mean, it's going to be pretty close. And let me see if we can get the cone up here. Oh, yes, we can. It's pretty convenient. But there's the cone. So there we go. So Houston, as of right now, you guys are actually the cone splits you in half. The western side of Houston is in the cone, the path of Beryl. The eastern side is not. That certainly does not mean that you're going to see less impacts from the eastern side. I would say just same impacts all around. But I mean, when this thing is pretty much parallel to you guys, the HRRR is going for wind gusts that could. I mean, I would argue that these winds could be up to about 70 miles per hour, which I don't think Houston is under evacuation immediates, but it's I think it's possible that they are. I doubt. But hunker down still if you're in Houston. I mean, you definitely don't want to risk a tree crashing through your house when you're sleeping, because remember, this is coming in through the very early morning. But by the time these strong winds, these like really serious winds get to you guys, it'll probably be at around noon, maybe a little bit earlier. But just some really strong winds in general. I do think that these could top off. The wind gusts could top off at around 70 miles per hour for the Houston area, but near Sugarland, Cathy, Cypress, Kingwood, Crosby, the Woodlands, Conroe, Cleveland, anybody out here, just please be sure to not underestimate the storm just because you're outside of the cone. You're still getting the shot at seeing hurricane force wind gusts rather than sustained winds. All right, so apologize for taking a long time to get through that, but I just want to quickly look at the severe weather threats for this storm, because that's another thing that's pretty important to note. So we do have a slight risk. This is for tonight, including Houston, Galveston, and areas just to the east of Victoria, Texas. We have a slight risk here in the yellow shade, and then a marginal risk there in the green shade. And you can see what's driving that. We have a 5% tornado threat, which I would consider is slightly elevated, and you think that's pretty crazy to see, just because it's from a hurricane. Well, this happens with hurricanes, tropical storms. When you get the outer bands, you get embedded thunderstorm cells, and those thunderstorm cells always have the capability of producing tornadoes. So I do think we're gonna have some possible embedded tornadoes tomorrow, maybe a tornado or two. And yes, we have had strong tornadoes with hurricanes in the past year, so there is a threat for a possibly strong tornado. So don't be surprised if you're under a tornado warning at a point or two. If you're in Houston or Galveston, and then areas to the east of Victoria, Texas, tonight or tomorrow. But you can see we have a 5 to 9% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of a point in Houston and Galveston. That's in the red shade. In the green shade, you have a 2 to 4% chance. All right, the SBC is keeping the severe hail threat at a very minimal threat. I don't think we're going to get any hail, which is agreeable because it's pretty obvious you don't get hail with hurricanes, because, I mean, there's no supercell. It's just a thunderstorm cell that's embedded with just an outer band, which is just some really intense rainfall. But then you look at the damage wind threat, and I think this is interesting, but they're keeping a 5 to 14% chance of seeing thunderstorm-related damaging wind gusts, which is a little bit more expanded. It actually does go into Louisiana, but it does include Victoria, Texas, Houston, and Galveston. And remember, these are not related to the hurricane, so you're going to get the really strong wind gusts from the hurricane. But if you catch yourself in a severe thunderstorm, if you're in Houston or Galveston, I mean, you could still get some very strong winds just from that thunderstorm cell, which would be pretty unfortunate, because the one time you think you could get a break and you don't. All right. But yeah, I mean, these outer bands are really going to be bringing some intense impacts. So don't feel like you're, not going to get anything, even if you're outside of the cone, outside of the track. You're still going to get some really significant impacts. I can bet you as much money as I want that you're going to get as, really intense impacts, even if you're not in the cone, even if you're getting those outer bands. But we go into tomorrow's SBC outlook. This is for tomorrow. A little bit shifted off to the east, but notice how you do have another slight risk. It's pretty big. This goes from Galveston and Houston all the way up through Lufkin, Texas, Longview, Texas, And in the Texarkana, you have a slight risk. It's level 2 out of 5 risk in the yellow shade. And then you have a pretty broad marginal risk in the green shade that doesn't include Victoria, Texas. What's driving that? Yet again, another 5% tornado threat, including Houston, Galveston, Lufkin, Longview, and Texarkana for these outer bands of the storm. That's in the red shade. That's a 5 to 9% chance of a tornado. And then in the green shade, you have another 2 to 4% chance for tomorrow. And another thing to notice, too, is that they have added another 5 to 14% chance for seeing damaging wind gusts within a thunderstorm inside these outer bands from Beryl, and that does include the same area as the slight and marginal risks. So pretty interesting to see that move from the SBC. I do like it though, but they have a pretty high confidence that we're going to get some embedded, severe storms with these outer bands from Beryl. All right, so we're gonna actually take a look instead of just the HRRR. I want to look at the significant tornado parameter. All right, this is just going to show us this is what the HRRR is showing. What area is potentially going to be under the gun for the highest chance of seeing a significant tornado, which is an EF2 or higher. And we take this out, and you can see as soon as the outer bands start to hit this area, you can see this is the center of circulation, or it might be down here. But I mean, you can see we get up to about a 4, maybe even spiking at a high end 5 here. So that's pretty much halfway to halfway to pretty high up the scale. So there is a very real chance that we could see a tornado or two in this area, but not only a tornado or two, but potentially a slightly stronger tornado or two from these outer bands from Beryl. But I mean, the SBC so far looks right on, and it pretty much, the HRRR is completely agreeing with the SBC because this is pretty much the exact area as what the slight and marginal risk areas look like for the day 2 outlook. So just really interesting to see that, but that just shows us that this is a very accurate model to look at, and if this information is going to be accurate, then that means that we have a pretty significant chance of seeing a strong tornado, because when you get to a 5 on the significant tornado parameter, I mean, you're getting pretty high up the scale. So just something to really, you gotta make sure that you're paying attention to that if you're in the Houston or Galveston area specifically. But aside from Hurricane Beryl, what's going on with our alerts and just our advisories here? So we'll quickly go over what's going on down in Texas. All right, if you're in the bright red shade, you have a hurricane warning. I believe this actually might be the same area that is currently under hurricane evacuations, but you can see a few counties down there into Texas are currently under these hurricane warnings. And then if you're in the dark red shade, that's where you have the tropical storm warnings. That's where we're expecting tropical storm force conditions to impact your area. Just not quite hurricane force conditions to impact your area. Okay, flood watches have been issued for these areas out ahead of Beryl. I believe that areas also inside the tropical storm and hurricane warnings are also in the flash flood, just the regular flood watches. All right, that's in the green shade there. And then one more thing to mention: look at the East Coast here. I mean, you're just getting flashed here by just a ton of heat advisories, alerts, and warnings out here. Just the West Coast is just lit up by these warnings here. You can see that a lot of pink shades out there, and you know what that means: excessive heat warnings. Yeah, this is a major heat wave that we've got going on across California, Nevada, all of the western United States. We've got heat advisories in the orange shade, and you've got some red flag warnings embedded in there. This is a really bad heat wave to historic proportions. I don't think we've seen I don't think we've seen a heat wave this bad this early. I mean, I'm not the best with heat wave history, but I think that this one is certainly it's certainly going up in the record books, and I do think that we actually might have even beaten the record for the highest recorded temperature ever for I believe it was Friday in Death Valley, California. But just something to point out there, just really intense heat, brutal heat going on there. And for the last part of the update, we'll quickly take a look at what those temperatures are actually looking like. And this is as we go into tomorrow. These are tomorrow's highs. So we'll take this out to pretty much as far as this goes. So this is going to be, oh gosh, I always have trouble converting Zulu time to local time, but I believe this is gonna be like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. All right, and look at the valleys of the hills and valleys of Southern California. You guys are just absolutely baking out here. I believe Death Valley is somewhere out here. But look at this. I mean, you're talking about 120 degrees, 122. I mean, this is where we could literally be dealing with cars melting. All right, if you have a plastic trash can, plastic recycling can, I mean, that could literally melt in how hot these temperatures are. I'm betting you guys that if you're in 112, 120, whatever degree heat, all right, you could honestly be frying an egg. You could cook an egg on a black surface. That's how hot it's going to be. It is going to be dangerous hot, and this is so hot that it's life threatening. All right, that's for Southern Nevada. You got Southeastern California. You got Southwestern Arizona. All of you guys, when you have temperatures that are over 105, easily getting over 110, approaching or even getting to 120 degrees. I mean, that's where lives are at stake. All right, and you can see all the way throughout California, still talking about temperatures well into the 90s. A lot of people getting up into the hundreds, and then even up to 110 for some areas of Northern California. And yes, I won't leave you guys out in the northwestern United States, as you guys are still baking out there, and you guys could still have a shot at 100 degrees. And some areas getting pretty high over 100 degrees, 105 down there in into Washington State, up into Oregon. Still talking about really, really close, really right around 100 degrees there. So just brutal heat there going on with that heat wave in the western United States. And Beryl is expected to make landfall tonight as a Category 1 hurricane in Texas. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. So thank you all for coming to watch. I'll see you guys in the next video. So please just stay safe out there, guys. If you're getting severe weather, if you're getting heat, if you're getting impacts from Hurricane Beryl, all right, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications because you don't want to miss out on any more weather updates from me. I do post frequent weather updates like this, so if you get caught in another sticky situation, whether it's a heat wave or it's a Hurricane Beryl, that is just broken records, which we did not imagine at all. I mean, who would have thought that we're going to get a Category 5 with our B name on the hurricane list in June? I mean, I did not expect this to happen at all. But yeah, if you find yourself in any sticky situation with the weather, feel free just to turn on the notifications, subscribe, and you don't want to miss out on another update from me. But anyways, thank you all for coming to watch. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys next video.